Good afternoon, good afternoon. This video will be only in English. Today we are the 25th, so I think we say the 25th of September 2015. Okay, I will record in a part of this book, The Way of Mastery. As usual, you know that I'm not bilingual. I make some mistakes in my words, in my verbs when I speak in English. You can have the introduction to all that in my video, lesson 35. It was the last one of the book, but it was the first one I have recorded. I have seen 2 minutes ago that the first part of this lesson, the lesson 21, is a spiritual exercise, and I have recorded it in French. So if you want to have just the information and my commentaries about that, about this spiritual exercise in French, it's the video in French, le sens profond de 9 phrases spirituelles. If I translate, the deep sense of 9 spiritual sentences. Okay, I have said good afternoon, but maybe it's good evening, good night, good morning. I don't know what time is it at your home or at your apartment. Here it's 3 o'clock and 40 minutes. Okay, are you ready? We will begin. Lesson 21. Allowance is the doorway to the kingdom. It's not possible for you to be without love. It's not possible for you to be alone. It's not possible for you to taste death. It's not possible for you to taste genuine loss. It's not possible for you to suffer the dream of separation. It's not possible for you to be apart from your Creator. It's not possible for you to fail. It's not possible for you to harm anyone or anything. It's not possible for you to be guilty of sin. My comment? It was the 9 sentences I have recorded in French, and you have many explications about that. I know that in our mind we think that sometimes it's false, but when we understand better, with a deeper sense of these sentences, we can see that it's true. So I have explained that in French. I will put the link of this French video below this video. Enter into a deliberate purification. Beloved friends, please consider each of the statements that has just been made to you. We suggest that you write down each statement at the top of a separate piece of paper. Then, begin a process in which for 1 week you abide with each of these statements. What do we mean by that? We mean that as often as you choose, through desire, set aside time to merely abide with the statement. Then, watch what comes up in the mind and write it down. What you will discover are many pictures, many ideas, and even certain feelings that seem to indicate to you that the statement must not entirely be true. This is a way for you to deepen your ability to observe what is actually occurring within the field of your own mind. It is a way to enter into a deliberate purification. Denial can never purify the mind, for you cannot transcend what you refuse to embrace. For in embracing, does love return to the place where shadow once dwelt? Love alone heals all things. The innocents need not fear. Therefore, because you are innocent, you are completely free to be thoroughly honest about what comes up in the mind as you sit with each statement. Just jot it down. After a 2 or 3 minutes period, pause. Look at what you have come up with, or what has come up within you, and then juxtapose those two views. Take the statement that you are working with and simply repeat it in the mind. Then look at the statement, the picture, the description, or memory that seems to indicate that your experience is other than that statement. As you juxtapose it in this way, look at what has come up within your mind. Be honest about it. If it is an event that occurred last week, or last year, or 10 years ago, or 500 years ago, it does not really matter. As you look at it, simply ask, has this belief or this perception of myself that seems to be in opposition to the statement at the top of the page, has it really changed anything about me? Has it taken my existence from me? Simply see what the answer is. Then lift your eyes from the page and look around. Say within the mind, I am free in this moment to choose to see things differently. Then take just a moment or two and abide, simply looking around you. Then go back to the statement at the top of the page and say it again and loud, at least 3 times. Then merely say within the mind quietly, this is the truth about me. I want only the truth. Then put it away and be about your business. The next day, bring it out and do the exercise again. Do that kind of process for 1 week for each of the statements given you. Rest assured, purification will be occurring in the depth of the mind. Each of you will experience it in your own way, but you will experience it. Remember always that the only thing that can be transformed is the mind. It is by the power of the mind itself that purification occurs. Just as desire is essential to realization, so too is willingness or allowance. You have heard us say unto you many times that you are required only to offer a little willingness, just what you call a smidgen. Measure out a smidgen of willingness, which is the same as allowance, and sprinkle it upon your experiences. Sprinkle it across the world. Sprinkle it upon your own being. Allow all things. Become willing to be one who cultivates the ability to allow all things. The mind that is free can do this. The mind that is imprisoned cannot. For the mind that is imprisoned is so because it insists that what it perceives should become different in itself, but that the perceiver need not change. And that is the very essence of imprisonment. One who cultivates that ability to allow is cultivating in truth the very act of forgiveness. It is releasing the world from its insistence that its perceptions be held as right. It is releasing from itself the need to hold on to its perceptions. Therefore, allow all things, trust all things, and thereby embrace and transcend all things. Allowance follows on the heels of desire. For when you desire the kingdom above all things, you have no choice but to discover that you must allow the world to be as the world is. For you have not known how the world is. You have only known your perceptions of it. But the Comforter will heal those perceptions, and that requires your little willingness to let your perceptions be changed. As they are changed, the world magically becomes a different place. It does become transparent and harmless. It becomes virtually valueless except for the value that the Comforter would give it while it lasts. Allowance, beloved friends, is a process of letting go and trusting. It is a process of saying, I wonder what it would be like to just let things be as they are, to notice them and let them pass by. Allowance, then, is the doorway through which Christ passes into the complete remembrance of Christ. Allowance brings a deepening sense of freedom, freedom from all circumstance. For it is your circumstances that you have believed have the power to imprison you. But as you choose to relinquish your perception of the world or any circumstance, you discover that you are already abiding in freedom. The power, and that is what freedom is a power to create differently. And to create is the effect of what you will choose to see. Allowance can be thought of as a resistance being melted from the nervous system, which is just an aspect of the mind anyway. Allowance is like the opening of the palms of the hands. Instead of holding on so tightly, you simply let go. What do you let go of? The habit of the need to be right. The habit of the need to perceive that the world is a fearful place. The habit of perceiving that you are in lack. The habit of perceiving that Christ must be far from you. Anything that is unlike the kingdom of heaven is a habit well worth releasing by allowing it to be dissolved from your mind. The essence of this lesson is the cultivation of allowance. It begins with the willingness to relinquish the lid you have placed upon your own mind, so that you become able, in innocence, to simply observe how it really is, what is really going on down in the basement, without judgment, without fear, without justification, without explanation. It is simply there. The cultivation of allowance will deepen a great deal if you will merely put the exercise that we began with into practice. In allowance, you cultivate the very quality of forgiveness. Without forgiveness, it is impossible to awaken into the realization of the truth that is true always. Why? Because judgment is the opposite of the kingdom. Where forgiveness is withheld, you are literally making a choice to be outside the kingdom. You have used the power of the mind to make a decision out of a desire to hold onto a perception, and thereby you have generated direct experience. You are the one who has kicked yourself out of the garden. Remember then that always forgiveness is essential. It is necessary for the atonement. Forgiveness is another word for allowance. We speak here not of a blind passivity, but of a relinquishment within one's own mind, and that is all. It is a willingness to see the complete neutrality of all events. It is a willingness to let the Comforter remind you that separation does not exist, that you cannot possibly make yourself guilty of sin and all the rest. Forgiveness is a relinquishment of what you have decided is true about the world. It is then very much a self-centered practice. Of yourself, you cannot forgive your brother or sister for anything because in reality, they have done nothing. Forgiveness is forgiveness of oneself for insisting on replacing reality with your own version of it. Allowance is like the petals of a flower opening to embrace the new dawn of a spring day. Allowance is like the melting of the ice that allows the river to flow. Allowance is like the removing of a cap from a bottle of sweet fragrance and enjoying it as deeply as you can. Allowance is the dissolution of fear. Allowance is transformation. When you have come to allow all things, to trust all things, you will have embraced all things. Only that one who is larger than the thing that is embraced can do the embracing. Therefore, whenever you feel imprisoned, it is because you have made yourself smaller than the world you perceive. And when you feel free, it's because you have remembered that you are the one from which all things have arisen. You are the Son of God, or the daughter of God. You are the vast sky in which all clouds and storms arise and pass away, while the sky remains unscattered, eternally changeless. That is freedom. And the cultivation of freedom is a free will choice. It is the result of the desire for the kingdom. As you come to truly forgive yourself for every perception you have ever held about anyone or anything, you will come to discover that it means relinquishing perceptions of yourself as well. For you cannot awaken fully unless you include yourself in the circle of your forgiveness. Ultimately, of course, you come to see that the very practice of allowance is really the act of allowing yourself to be truly the self that you are. You will no longer resist the process of purification by whatever means the Comforter uses for you. It simply does not matter anymore. Why resist it? All I want is God. If it is dissolved in the mind in a split second and you do not even notice it, fine. If it requires great tears and great experiences in the world, fine. What is the difference? They are really the same. It is because you have relinquished through allowing ownership of your own pathway home. You have decided to let the Comforter take you home. Because you desire the kingdom above all else. It no longer matters how that process is experienced. You no longer complain that it seems to be taking too long. You simply enjoy yourself in the process itself. You let the Comforter take you by the hand and retrace the steps you once made in error. Each step requires allowance, which is forgiveness, born of desire that has been purified of desire for that which imprisons. And it is replaced with the desire for that which sets all things free. Once your desire begins and becomes the kingdom, the end of the journey is perfectly certain. School is out. That which the ego is cannot last. For the very universe, creation, the world around you will conspire, which simply means to breathe together. All things will conspire together under the hand of the Holy Spirit to create precisely what you require to be set completely free of all illusion. And secretly, you will have already agreed with the Comforter that it will be this way. Allowance, then, is equally as important as desire, and it is an aspect of that pathway, that foundation, whereby Christ remembers Christ and arises from the ego's ashes to walk upon this plane and any plane as the truth that is true always. Remember that it is only the ego that will compare and contrast. It is only the egoic mind that thinks about another's path and wonders if perhaps their path is better than your own path. There is only the life that you are directly experiencing, and through desire and allowance, that very life comes to be embraced as the very means by which the Comforter is dissolving illusion from your mind. Of course, it is all based on the humility of realizing that the ego cannot awaken itself, that the Comforter is that agency given by grace that knows how to bring you home. Yeah, because if we were able to go home to the celestial sphere alone, we would be there now. The proof that we cannot, that our mind is closed in some parts to the reality, to the truth, is that we are always here with many problems. When we realize that deeply, we open ourselves more and more to accept new information, new visions, new understanding, new spiritual things, to learn how to accept what is, how to forgive, how to see the cosmic mirror that we have attracted things in our life with our thoughts, our emotions, our sexuality, our actions. We accept the situation and we ask for a divine guidance to understand better and better what we can change and how we can love more, and how we can embrace people, situations, events, to be more and more in the divine energy and less in our negative reactions. And we all know this divine presence or these divine energies to come inside of us and in our life more and more, to be more powerful, with more light, with more energy, with more will, to do different things. We accept that because we want the divine life, and this life is not a life of timidity, a life of shame, a life of smallness. No, it's a life with enthusiasm, with creativity, with dynamism, with confidence, with faith in the guidance that we receive, and to do what we feel that we have to do with people. So all that depends on our will to accept the Comforter, the Holy Spirit, or the guidance of the Christ and the Divine Mother, the Divine Father. Establish a relationship with the Comforter. I highly recommend that you establish a relationship with the Comforter as though it were a relationship with a good friend, indeed, the best of friends, until you reach a point in which virtually every decision is given to that mind. Well, old buddy, should I turn left or right? You relinquish ownership of your life. It is only the ego that thinks it can possess life. Spirit knows that life possesses it. That is, life has birthed you. The mind of God has given rise to you. You are God's. You are not the owner of life. You are the recipient of it. Would you then be willing to make the decision to become a Grand Master of Allowance? You can begin with the simplest of things, such as, I allow this toothpaste to taste exactly the way it tastes. With no complaint, it just is as it is. If it is the changing of your seasons, would you be willing not to lament the end of summer and the coming of fall, but would you be willing to experience that change? For rest assured, please listen well, in the realm of the world, which is the realm of perception, the only thing that exists is constant change. Underneath it, there is a changeless reality, that which pervades the changeable. But where there is resistance to change, rest assured, there is a mind living in delusion. Remember that we have said unto you before that the awakened mind no longer feels any resistance to the things of time. It no longer tries to get rid of time. It no longer tries to make things stay the same. The awakened mind can embrace all things, trust all things, and thereby transcends all things instantly, even in the midst of change. In your realm, be perfectly honest with yourself. Is there ever a moment in which change is not occurring? Can the body be the field of perfect silence? Hardly. Even if you make your heart stop beating for 3 seconds, there is still blood gently flowing through the veins. There are still thoughts arising, sounds coming in through the ears. The body is not that which can be changeless. The awareness of the body, the field in which the body arises, is changeless already. Can you come, then, to be the field of awareness that can embrace all things which arise, change, and pass away, yet not feel any obstruction in embracing and dancing with those things? For the mind that is free from the illusions of death is that very mind that learns to dance with death, to enter into any moment or relationship knowing that because the body is engaged, it must come to an end. In fact, it is already on its way to death. The mind, then, that becomes the one who is no longer in fear, no longer in resistance, is the mind that has forgiven all things, including itself. The mind that can embrace all phenomena that arise and pass away with passion, with joy, with aliveness, with innocence, with simplicity, that mind cannot taste death. It literally transmutes death, even as death seems to be passing by. The highest state of being, then, is always a paradox when you try to think about it. Through your desire, you have come ever closer and ever deeper into the kingdom. And through your cultivation of allowance, the grace-filled willingness to know that that which arises is already passing away, it is like water flowing through a fork, and you might as well not lament it. The mind that laments, it is the mind imprisoned in the delusion. The mind that allows all things is the mind that is already freely beyond all things. Imagine that there has been given unto you a window, as though your Creator has plucked you out of Himself and said, I'm going to drop you into the field of time because there is something I want you to learn. You now have 30 days in which to learn it. Imagine that if you did not learn it, your existence would be snuffed out, erasing your name from the book of life. Now, of course, that will never happen. This is just a way of getting leverage on yourself. Cultivating the grace of allowing. Imagine that for the next 30 days, all that mattered was the cultivation of the grace of allowing. How do you do that? By coming down, once again, to the most concrete, most mundane, most ordinary experiences of any given day. When you turn on your water in your shower in the morning, Actually, take the time to be present and to feel its coolness change to heat, and to recognize that you have just observed the constant dance of change in your world, and simply say, I allow this change to occur. Now, yes, it makes you sound like you are some great being, when in fact it is going to happen anyway, but have fun with it. If you burn your toast, take a deep breath, and before the egoic mind begins to complain and whine that its toast is not the way it wants it, stop and look at it. Actually, experience the burnt toast and say, I allow this toast to be burned. And now, I'm free to choose to eat it as it is, or to begin anew. If you get into your automobile and you pull out of your garage, and the raindrops are hitting the windshield, simply give yourself permission to bring your mind back from the future into the present and say, I allow the falling of the rain. It is that simple. So you see, the power of transformation is the transformation of consciousness, which is the only thing that can be transformed. Learning is a consciousness thing. It is the only thing that can be changed. It is the only place learning can occur. And all learning is designed to translate perception, so that it becomes more and more and more and more like reality itself. Fear dissolves from the mind, and then the father or the mother can take the final step for you. Learning is necessary in the field of perception. You have placed yourself within that field, so why not get on with it and let perception be healed? It is healed by bringing the power of observation to what is right in front of you, not in front of the body, but right in the field of awareness itself. That is why you should be dancing in your shoes at all times. My goodness, I don't have to go anywhere. It's right here in front of me. This ordinary moment provides the doorway to the transformation of consciousness itself. All I have to do is bring a little willingness to it. And guess what? I have all power under heaven and earth to do just that. Nobody can take it from me. Nobody can change the freedom in which I live. I am the one who can bring that little willingness to this moment and let the raindrops hit the window. If you will look around yourself, you will discover in any given day plenty of things to keep you occupied, plenty of reasons why boredom is nothing more than a decision. For right in front of you is the richness of a pathway translated by the Comforter from a dream of separation to the royal highway to the kingdom. And all power under heaven and earth lies within you in this moment and this moment and this moment to choose again. But it is time to take such statements out of the realm of abstract intellect into very concrete, live moments. Where can I choose again? Right now. I can accept and allow these raindrops to hit the window. I can be present with them. I can hear them. I can watch them as they trickle down instead of being annoyed, instead of letting the mind go off into its future adventures. I can cultivate the art of being present now as the very presence of a mind that is free. 2 pages, I think, yes, 1, yes, and 3/4 of the other. Therefore, consider in each of your next 30 days, what could I utilize in this day to practice this exercise? Of course, you cannot be without things to practice with. It is impossible. Those that say they are bored are really saying, I'm resisting the kingdom. Pure and simple. Well, do we perceive once again that so many in your world seek to find a spirituality that will free them of the world, of their experience, never even realizing that that very attitude is the thing that chains them, imprisons them in their hell. Spirituality is merely a process of seeing things differently, and that is an active decision, born of desire, coupled with the little willingness called allowance, to recognize that each moment is like a jewel presented on a golden plate to you, God's child. You are the one who has the freedom always and literally creates or makes your experience. The final lessons that I had in time concerning allowance was the crucifixion. Now, I know that there are many of you that do not want to follow in my footsteps. But rest assured, beloved friends, if you would look well upon your experience, you have already tasted much more profound crucifixions many times. In fact, for some of you, my crucifixion was a cakewalk by comparison. You are free to crucify yourself no longer by choosing to transform your very experience, by bringing the power of your mind to bear upon it. Desire, allowance. So, what stands between you and the goal that you seek? The decision to try to be insane. The decision to try to resist God. You know that you can resist another body, since another body occupies another piece of space. In other words, it is not where you are, so you can resist it. But I say unto you, God is already wholly present right where you are. How on earth can you resist what is already occupying the space in which you find yourself? You might as well try to shake off your own hand, or shake and jiggle the skin of the body. Good luck. All suffering is the resistance of reality. All awakening and healing is the letting go of resistance, forgiveness, allowance. God is already here. I am forever God's. I surrender. Surrender is the fruit of allowance. Surrender is the fruit of forgiveness. Surrender is the same as the atonement. For now, simply focus on allowance to make sure that you have not left some dark corner in the mind filled with your need to perceive things in a certain way. Your need to believe that the world should be other than the way it is, or your forgetfulness that each event that transpires in your experience can be seen as heaven or hell. As you choose to see only heaven, you will discover the power that has already set you free. The message of this lesson is quite valuable if you will put it into practice. After all, what else could you possibly want to use time for? You have tried everything else and found it lacking. You have not been able to fill it up with enough lovers, enough money, enough cars, enough restaurants. So you might as well fill it up with the transformation of consciousness, so that perception begins to be more and more aligned with the real world. Why not? And if somebody asks you what you do with your time, say, I grow Christ. What do you do? So, practice well. Begin with the statement, given to you at the beginning of this lesson. They are very important for you as a way of triggering the opportunity to observe what might be unlike the truth, still lingering in the mind and in the emotional field, which is really just the space of blue in which you attach perceptions. It is like pinning the tail to the donkey. Stick that one on the wall and keep it forever. Let those things bubble up that they might be purified from your holy mind. Above all, beloved friends, remember, there are no mistakes. You are free to trust the momentum that seems to be shaping your life, for you are the one who has complied with it by inviting the Holy Spirit to take you home. You are the one that has prayed for acceleration. Therefore, also be the one who accepts the grace being offered unto you. Remember, resistance is the ego. Embracing is of Christ. The one that allows all things has already transcended all things. Let this lesson become a month-long journey of exploration. Be you, therefore, at peace this day. Amen. I just want to add in this little comment that when we accept more and more what is in our day, when we don't resist or resist less, we feel we feel less anger, less frustration. We want to learn, we want to discover. We see things happening, we feel, and sometimes it's hard and we can cry, but we accept the situation and we ask inside of us, what can I learn? What can I change? What can I do differently with more love? What did I do in the past to attract this with this person or in this situation? Sometimes also it's difficult because we keep some illusions in our relationship. We think that the person with who we are or a soulmate or something very near of us, and it's not always the case. We have a lot of confusions in our relations, and sometimes we stay in some situations because we think that we have to stay, but it's not true. It's better to be alone sometimes than to be not with the right person. But we have a lot of dépendance en français, addictions in English. We have a lot of addictions, and we construct a movie inside of us that we must stay in this situation. But sometimes we have to change, we have to go, we have to try another situation, and to accept also to be in this new situation and to learn many, many new things. I could say different things, but I don't want to make a conference on that now, and it's hard also for me in English, so I just want to precise that allowing and accepting is to do not be in negative reaction, and to try to understand and to put more spiritual energy in the situation. But that doesn't mean necessarily to stay where we are. Some people think that to accept is to accept everything and never go in another place or with another person, girlfriend or boyfriend, or friends at work or at school, or we have to accept what is there, but even to accept to follow our joy, our inner inspirations, and to go with a people or situation where we think that there will be more spirituality, more interesting things, more new things. So it's just important to understand what pushes us in a situation, but also to be open to the divine guidance that pushes us to go out of some situations, and to not stay in our addictions, and to do not follow the flow. Okay, I stop here. I don't know, maybe I will record another lesson in some minutes. I will go to meditate some minutes, to take a pause, to feel the energy, to allow things that I want to allow more and more of the divine in my life. And maybe after I will come back with another lesson 20, I think. Thank you to have watched this video, and I wish you good new understandings with all that. And with the 9 sentence at the beginning of the chapter, the lesson, re-listen again the 9 first sentences, write them on paper, and you will make a lot of discoveries, or watch my French video about that. Okay, thank you very much. Bye bye.